So slop, gaming slop, movie slop, social media slop, television slop, you know it, I know it. It's kind of been one of the big buzzwords of the 21st century. And really what's inclined me to make the video is like any popular buzzword on the internet, it gets to the point where it's being used excessively and rather incorrectly sometimes. The word now more than anything just seems like it's used to dismiss or bash something that someone wasn't even relatively involved in, or already had negative preconceived notions of said media piece that they just wanted to dismiss and simply throw away with the word slop. And whilst I understand the word slop inherently comes from a negative place, I'm here today to figure out what is slop. And I know grammar police over here, and my rebuttal to that would be yeah, I don't have one. The funny thing about slop is it tends to be quite versatile. You see different variations and subsets of slop in media. YouTube slop, gaming slop, television slop, movie slop, slop. Not how many times I say slop in this video. Sometimes the word tends to get mixed up with other words, which is why I bring up this video to maybe create a distinction in what is slop and is not just something that is derivative, trash, or even uninspired. And just like any overthinker, I'm curious to find out the true meaning of something that's not that deep. And I understand this video is kind of like an alley-oop to my channel because a lot of people will tend to find YouTube channels and even just content in general that they think are derivative of something or that they've seen before, maybe have seen too much of, and will just consider it slop. So I get that sort of thing. But you know what? I'm willing to subject myself to valid criticisms at the hopes of making a banger video. And well, if the video comes out ass, fuck it. About last month, where essentially the conception of this video began, is on Twitter, where all amazing things start. I began to see this word slop permeate all around the internet. People referring to certain YouTube channels as slop, upcoming games as slop, current television shows as slop. It was all the catalyst for this video coming into fruition. It's been feeling like every week the internet's been finding something new that they consider slop, that I didn't even know could be considered slop. And it's always funny to me because whenever I see people calling shit that isn't realistically even slop, I'm always laughing because in my head I'm like, boy, let me show you some real fucking slop because I've seen it before and you do not want to deal with that shit. It just seemed like the word was losing its true origins of what it originally meant. But okay, let's take away my 2 cents. Instead, let's just look at the textbook definition of what slop means, and maybe then we can find the more nuanced definition. Merriam-Webster has the definition of slop categorized as a digital content of low quality that is produced usually in quantity by means of artificial intelligence, a product of little or no value. Rubbish. Okay, well, AI and slop, okay, that's fair, I suppose. But a lot of the words get thrown around these days aren't even categorized or related to AI. The word now, more than anything, is just used when somebody thinks something is subjectively bad. But okay, that gives us a little bit of a foundation for what the word can mean and kind of a basis of understanding of slop. Okay, it's little to no value, has no meaning, rubbish. Wait a minute. Oh shit. That's my channel. But no, let's get deeper. Let's understand a little bit more. So we can think of slop in a general media sense, right? You got things like Netflix's millionth garbage unoriginal series. You got movies like you feel you've seen 100 times, games with no purpose but to only take the player's time and not give them any enjoyment out of it. Endless TikTok, social media, Instagram, loopholes, and all of it has a purpose. All of it can relate to some sort of concept. It's that it all begins to feel like premeditated, optimized content to keep you stuck in the content loophole of the world. Oh, that's a mouthful. And when you think about it in that way, it starts to make a little bit more sense. As I said, there's different mediums and media of slop. The foundation though of this channel tends to be gaming, so maybe we can relate it more to a gaming sense. A lot of what I categorize as gaming slop, you see it often the ones that are obvious, like the fucking 6-7 game, like that's just obvious slop, like garbage, like that's created with the intentions of ironically or unironically being slop. So I mean, that's the obvious point. But when you look at actual companies that are bigger studios and they are creating slop, you can kind of catch a pattern with it where it's always feels like it's not coming from a place of inherent artistic value or integrity. It's not coming from a place that's trying to provide anything meaningful or rather even enjoyable. See, when you see a video game that you feel is slop, I feel they're the ones that are not there for enjoyment but rather just consumption. They're created and designed in ways that are meant to just consistently be played and repeated, hop on the next trend or bandwagon. Things like daily rewards, battle passes, addictive gameplay loops that aren't necessarily fun but rather just have you locked in, ends up making it all feel like it's not about the experience or enjoyment but rather retention, repetitiveness, and consumption. But I think that all brings it back to one place: why it exists. Why is slop so heavily persistent in the digital age now? because we know it's not by accident. For if it was by accident, then people wouldn't just stumble upon it and continue to consume it.
Like if I see those fruits fucking on my timeline one more time, I'm actually gonna crash out. See, all of this feels like it has negative intentions. It's just there to be fodder. It's just made there to be consumed and then on to the next fucking fruit video. It has no artistic intentions. It has no thought behind it. It's just made. And that one's even worse because that comes from an AI backing, which is where Slop originally comes from. But I don't think it always has to be related to AI in order to make it Slop. And the worst part is you will see the videos have millions of views, so it's clearly grabbing people's attentions, but again, in the worst way possible.
Everything in an age digitally that is fighting for your time, fighting for your attention, ends up producing so much fodder, garbage, rubbish, slop. Because if we live in an age where everyone wants attention, people will do anything for attention, repeat things that they've seen other people do to get attention, and it ends up producing slop. So categorically, what I think comes down to it when we're thinking about slop and what it means and what it relates to.
And yes, I realize I'm thinking about this too deeply. What am I doing with my life?
And it's that it's not necessarily that slop is in relation to quality. That's not what I think it is, because you see things that are inherently and objectively garbage or bad, but it doesn't feel quantifiable as slop because there is some artistic being behind it, which might sound insane to say for certain things, but no. I don't ever think slop came down to quality or repetition or being derivative. Rather, that slop comes from the basis of intention. Yes, Merriam-Webster states that slop would be a product of little or no value, rubbish, but that's kind of a generalization of it. But when you look at the reverse definition, a digital content of low quality that is produced usually in quantity by means of artificial intelligence, there is something in that we can kind of pull from, that being is produced usually in quantity.
And that all relates to people creating things in order to garner widespread attention.
And all that comes with intentions. So, okay, to reel it all back in, I think if we are going to say what slop is moving forward and kind of getting a basis of an understanding of it, is that it inherently seems to just come from a place of intention, rather that is created just from the being and the initial idea of just being consumed. It's just created to it's fodder, it's garbage, it doesn't have substance. Someone didn't think while making it. It was just made inherently for someone to see. I think that's what slop is. So no, even though you see that YouTube channel, don't say mine please, that may be trash, or that just may be buns, or maybe has one too many memes in it, or Vine booms, but I don't think that inherently makes it slop. It could just make it a bad piece of content, or maybe a content that you don't enjoy, but it doesn't make it slop at the end of the day, because us as people, if we are creating content, and I mean that by gaming, movies, YouTube, all of it, books, with intentions of it being enjoyed, someone pulling something from it positively, then how could that ever be slop? So I guess the question would be, to end off the video, is what is slop to you? I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about it too deeply.